Okay, gotta throw in some.
Conroe, here we come.
Artwork. Okay, yep, here we come. Conroe, that's gonna be in March. And if my dates, if my mind is right,
Which is not.
the dates, yeah,
Anyway.
that's true, it's not. What, are we 11, 12, 13, 14, is that right?
Yeah, that second weekend in March.
And we're going to be doing a Tactics on Tap also while we're down there.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking forward to a very good time. I hear they've got a really decent training center that we can use, and we'll be able to do a lot of things down there. You know, but you know that's the interesting thing about doing a lot of things. It's like me and Bob Holt were talking. Oh God, about June of last year about really what is fire attack. It's all about employing the basics. So even though we say, yeah, we'll do a lot of things, yeah, we'll do a lot of evolution. We'll have the nozzles in the guy's hands as much as we can. We'll also go over things like the deck gun, the ram, and so forth, and of course multiple line stretches. And that's the thing about doing a lot, okay? And again, firefighting comes down to the basics once again, which is what we keep saying over and over and over again. Kind of funny, because when it comes to the basics, if it's a skill learned and you don't use it on a regular basis, you don't train with it on a regular basis, those skills diminish. And in many cases, they're forgotten about. So when somebody hears, oh, there's going to be an engine class going on, yeah, they're going to do the basics, they're going to be doing the principles, and people think, we know that stuff. Take those same guys who throw their hands up and don't want any part of that training. I'll bet you 90% of those people have no idea what to do in a fire situation. They don't know what it takes to overcome the small things and so forth. So if you get the big complex fire, the big complex situation, that's when they really fall down. You know, and a lot of people don't really understand that. But when you're out training with folks, you know, generally the people who come to the training, that 10% bleeding down to that 1% that we've talked about, they're the guys who get it. And they know you've got to stay on top of that with training regularly and things like that. And again, we've said it many, many times, keep it simple. You and I were talking a little bit ago this morning, and that one person who came up to me recently says, you know, they were trying to, you know, act like they were a third party and saying, somebody said something about keep your firefighting simple, because the fire will make it complex enough. And that person was obviously one of our students, you know.
Yeah.
But stay with the basics. And besides that, can anybody define, when I hear this thing about advanced firefighting, what advanced firefighting really is? How can you go to advanced firefighting if you keep making screw ups on the basics? And there's no such thing as advanced firefighting, okay? We were, we've been a lot of places recently. And we throw out that same question to firefighters now. Try to keep things relevant. Try to keep things in perspective. Let's say your house is on fire. You call the fire department. You got a working fire in your house. Fire truck comes. They've got 3 guys on it. Okay? What do you want them to do?
Get the line out.
Put the fire out. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay? There's 3 of them. So that's your resources. Your resource categories, very simple. They were defined many years ago in the fire service. I don't know if anybody can define them anymore. Okay? Apparatus, equipment, personnel. The most important thing is your personnel. Are they trained to perform for that evolution or that fire that you've got right there? What do you want them to do? Put the fire out as quickly as possible. We throw the questions out in the quizzes when we give them, right?
Yeah.
You know, how long from air brakes to nozzle? And that was another thing that's come up. Guys who are running, you know, they want to beat that time at the Fire Ground Olympics, okay? Comes to the fire, the real fire, it's a different ballgame now. Oh, there's real smoke and there's real fire and there's a real house on fire. You know, well, number one, there's a boss involved here who should be telling their guys, don't run. And that's how you should train also. Walk with a sense of purpose. That way it clears your mind up, allows you to think more clearly about, here we are, we got 3 people on our engine, at the 2-story frame house on fire. Fire's on either the first floor, second floor, it doesn't matter. We're the only engine on the scene. What's our job? It shouldn't even be up for debate. And I know all the experts in the job out there are gonna be talking about, well, what if there's somebody inside? Well, you just answered your own question. You've only got 3 people. You don't know where these people are, or if anybody's really inside or whatever, but you got a working fire. And so what is the biggest thing that's creating the problem?
That would be the fire.
The fire. Exactly. So all this stuff about fire attack, making it sure, but making it simple, so everybody understands it, and that's easy to apply. And that's what builds your efficiency. Remember, simplicity equals efficiency. And that is happening by eliminating all these other steps. Excuse me.
Well,
So-
speaking of eliminating steps,
Yeah,
in some of the recent places we've
you
been,
guys think this is coffee too?
it's almost lunchtime.
Whoa.
We were talking about the different ways to make it simple, and that's to set your engine up for simplicity and fire attack. Whether it's a single line fire, a short, a long stretch, 2 lines off, 3 lines off, how to make that engine easy to operate, easy to pull from, easy to reload. So could you touch on just a basic bread and butter single line fire in a small house, and then maybe we could talk about what it would look like with a couple stretches off the same engine.
First of all, something needs to be done in the American Fire Service to make fire departments understand that they gotta look at their community that they're protecting. All right, so if you've got old buildings and now you've got newer neighborhoods that are sprouting up, you have new businesses, you have industrial parks or things like that, all that's gonna have an impact on your engines. The other thing is looking at your engine staffing, your trucks and things like that. Look, we talk engine work, but we also talk truck work, because truck work is what complements engine work, especially at a good fire situation. This whole thing about, this blue gas bullshit, about, we don't put anybody on the roofs, well, then you're burning buildings down, and you're burning them down intentionally. There's so many fires out there that fire departments go to the roof, they cut the hole, it allows everything to boil up and out of the place. The engine company's able to get in and put the fire out because of that action. But we got some people who, maybe because of their lack of experience, lack of knowledge, or they've drank the Kool-Aid or whatever, are preaching this nobody on the roof's bullshit, okay?
And to prove that point, anybody who goes to a fire that is not vented already and there's smoke everywhere,
Yeah,
it gives those inexperienced people a pucker factor.
oh, absolutely. Big
But
time.
what would happen if it had burned through the roof already? Right? The whole
Well,
first floor is going to be
well,
lightened up. You'll be able to go right in with the engine and put it out, right?
Yeah,
So a ventilated fire is actually an easier
a
job.
good thing.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So get those trucks to do their job so
Yeah.
we can go do ours.
So, okay, so going back to what we were just saying, you gotta look at your community, and that includes your streets, how wide they are, and their traffic patterns, and things like that. This is what community fire studies are all about. And the next thing is your water supply system. Are you a new community? Are you an old community? Are you a mix of both, where you got old areas serviced by 6-inch mains? Hell, you go to some of the older industrial cities like where we're at, or even eastern United States, they got 4-inch mains still supplying older neighborhoods, and you got a big warehouse here and stuff like that. These are things you have to take into consideration for fire protection. Now, when it comes down to the engine, I know we're glossing over this
Yeah,
stuff.
I got to keep pushing you. I asked you about hose loads and
Yeah,
bread and
well,
butter.
that's
Come
where
on.
I'm going with this, okay? If you've got these buildings and they're tightly packed together, again, I worked my career in a fire department where you've got neighborhoods where you've got nothing but huge industrial buildings. You've got apartment building behind apartment buildings, houses behind houses and things like that. Here's the engine, here's the sidewalk, and right there is the building. Many guys back east on fire departments in cities like that can attest to that. And this thing about, the pre-connected lines doesn't always work. And the other thing is how many people you have in that engine, and what size hose lines you think you need to make a good, hard-hitting attack initially, and what can you do with those people? So it comes down to how you spec your engines out. And again, many fire departments have gotten into this thing where the engines become something other than a fire engine. If you ask people, how's your triple combination apparatus doing? They're probably looking at you like, what are you talking
What's
about?
a triple combination?
Yeah, what's a triple combination, okay? But if you say, let me see your quint, they know exactly what you're talking about. It's a big, big thing with a pump on it and a little bit of water, a little bit of hose, and ladders and an aerial device, okay? 5 things. What's the triple combination? Pumps, hose, water. The original engine company for Fire Attack.
The trinity of the fire service.
Oh my God, yeah. That's a good way of saying it too. So, depending on the spacing of your hydrants, once again, how much hose you plan to carry for supply purposes, what is your fire department plan for their first new engine on your basic bread and butter fire? Do you want them to go stop half a block away and creep in, so it doesn't sneak up on them? Or do you want them to go right into the fire, pull a line at that obvious working fire and start water? How much water do you have to do that? Well, it might call for a bigger booster tank. If you have an 1 3/4 line and we've got a flow of 185 gallons a minute approximately, how much tank water do you have before that tank runs out? Or are your hydrants spaced far enough or close enough that your pump operator can start getting that supply line out in the street and so forth? So when the second engine gets there, or whatever unit it is, that driver of that apparatus can help that first pump operator get that supply line established. There's all these things involved with that, and so forth. So, where are we going with that?
Well, we finally gotten to the point where we understand our first due, we understand our apparatus. Now we're looking at what's the time tested, used all over the country in busy departments. What load is likely to present itself to be flexible for short, longs, multiples.
Look, you know where I'm going to go with this.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, it's going to be the static bed, the flat load. Pack it in such a way where if you've got a nozzle man that he gets 50 feet, at least 50 feet with the nozzle. We call that the working length in the fire service. And understand it takes training and it takes a little bit of understanding to know that if you've only got 3 people to make the stretch of a couple hundred feet or whatever, second man, like in this case, would be the company officer grabbing that second coupling. There goes the nozzle man. And by the way, what we said earlier, nope, don't run. Walk. Stop if you have to. It'll pay much bigger dividends for the ease of stretching that line to the fire if you guys do it together as a team. None of this, he's running and I'm still looking for that second coupling stuff, okay? So take your time, walk with a sense of purpose, look for that second coupling, second man, second coupling, okay? Second person, second coupling, all right? Pump operator clears the bed, watches where they're going. You can go down, make a turn, come back this way. We just did that demonstration, didn't we?
Yeah, down in Somerville.
Yeah, we were out a couple of weeks ago with the department. And in that case, we were stretching 2.5. And we showed the simplicity of the 2.5 flat static hose bed. 50 feet with the nozzle as the working length. And John took that. He's walking, I'm playing the officer's role, looking for the second coupling. You stretched, 100 feet that way. And then
Yeah, we did 3 turns.
we did 3 turns. Coming out of the rear of the engine, 180 going that way, another 180 coming back this way, going past the engine, and then going to the left when we got to the point. Boom, and he had his working length with him. It's a team approach, and it's gotta be slowed down so everybody can see how all the pieces of the puzzle fall in place. And that's how you're gonna get your line of service quickly. It's no secret, there's nothing secretive about it, so.
If we understand what our first due is, and we got an idea, like, hey, this neighborhood is single family homes or duplexes and nothing more. We know that this is gonna be a bread and butter fire, most likely 1 or 2 lines. We know that the stretch is usually gonna be not longer than whatever is typical in your community. That adds all to your I guess, size up as a company officer and then as firefighters showing up. There shouldn't be any surprises in your first due. And if there is, if you're working out of the same playbook as the guy next to you, it's easy to call an audible.
You're bringing up another important topic, which is standardization of your apparatus. When you're within the same fire department, and you have more than one engine in service, standardization is the key. And again, we hear the same thing, like, oh, we gotta have an engine for this, we gotta have an engine set up for that. Okay, fine. But when this engine has only 200 feet of attack hose line on it, it's got a lot of water, but it has no attack hose on it. What good is it? You're carrying 2,500 gallons of water or whatever it is, but you have no hose.
You got no way to put the water on the fire.
Yeah, and you're not making sense here in your argument, okay? And the other thing is your other engine. It may be set up to be a war wagon, but if that's the only one you got and it's blocked from the fire anyhow, well, the war wagon's down the street. We got this big tank of water up here, but no hose lines to really stretch. Oh, grab more hose off of this engine, we'll drag them down. Folks, that's time lost to get water in the fire. So, again, standardization of your apparatus and so forth, and again, it's, hey, not every fire goes according to the plan. We know that, okay? And there's gonna be those fires that you're not gonna make a dent in because they're gonna be that well advanced. They might have something burning that, the standard approach to fire attack won't work.
Yeah.
That's life, okay? But at least have a plan and a standard process for guys. We've been hitting on this recently too when we go out there. Just take the simple 3-story townhouse, wood frame, newer construction, 10, 15 years old, something like that. These fire departments are working on automatic or mutual aid. You're the third engine there. First engine's got a line into the first floor fire where it started, but there's extension to the second floor. So the second engine of the scene, they're ordered to take a line to the second floor. Watch for extension. Fire's now popping out in the walls in the third floor. You're that engine that's gonna take a line to the third floor. How important is it for you guys to have operations standardized so everybody meshes together?
And discipline.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it was Vince Dunn who said it many, many years ago. I think it was 85% of your fire ground problems are communication related. Communications not only at the fire ground, but beforehand. If we're gonna work with this department or that department or that department on mutual or automatic aid, we better have an understanding about standardization of our fire attack operations. So again, this whole thing about how our engines are set up, how our nozzles are pumped. Is it the fire department that has the select flow nozzle? The last thing they did was wash the apparatus off with it, 30-degree setting. They're not gonna tell you at the scene of the fire because everything's all helter-skelter, right? Or they've got 100 PSI fog nozzle on this hose bed, or who knows what on the other hose bed that's going in there on the initial attack with their guys. These are the things that we're talking about. Standardization, training, communication, the whole stuff is key.
That's one of the things we work on as a group is try to show when you get beyond a single line fire and you have multiple stretching going on in the building, that it pays off to stay disciplined to your assignment. If you go away from the bottom of the stairs as the guy working that turn because, well, you want to get involved with what else. You've been assigned to that turn. You work that turn even for the second line going by, a third line going by. That's your turn. That's where you stay and work. And that helps with accountability. It helps with getting the lines in service.
We just saw that recently.
Right, we do that.
We had those upstairs, that joint was black.
And it was tight.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where you saw the multiple line stretch. It became very complex at that point. Again, you throw smoke, throw heat and flame into that. Oh my God, this is the thing about, when do we charge our line? We like to take it, we take it in as far as we can dry, and then we call for water, right? But the situation might not allow you to do that. And this is where guys gotta communicate to each other, exactly what you're talking about. Like say a fire department that wants to have 2 crews on the initial attack line. Well, how do you spread those guys out? Or does everybody bunch up against the nozzle? Well, the nozzle, man, he opens up and that stuff comes roaring back at him and everybody's behind him pushing,
Push,
get in there,
push,
get in there,
push,
get
yeah.
in there. And he's getting roasted or steamed. Well, that's not good. And now you have two crews on air when, wait a minute, hold on, let's spread ourselves out along the line. And if there's a second line coming, not a backup line, I said a second line, okay? And they're gonna be going above the fire. Well, the guys back here, if they're spread out, they're not on air, but they're in a cleaner air environment, shall we say, they can help that line
Yeah,
get stretched.
help that second line
Yeah.
go by.
Yeah. Another thing about your stretches, and we've been saying it for 1,000 years. Don't throw a whole bunch of hose in. Don't load up the stairways. Don't throw a whole bunch of hose in the hallways. We saw it, that one place we were at recently, where the hose fell underneath the banister or the railing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, ain't gonna work, ain't gonna go anywhere. You're gonna get kinks in it, and that diminishes your flow and so forth. And a lot of other stuff.
Hey, that's where the training really comes. Even if you consider yourself an accomplished firefighter,
Yeah.
getting reps in
Right.
is the only way to experience issues or problems and then see how things can get fixed.
Right, right.
You know, you don't get that by reading about it or watching a video about it.
Right.
You got to do it.
When you have a situation like that, where you have a multiple line stretch, real fire situations, you got two company officers in there, let's say you got two crews on that first attack line, okay? Here comes the second line. So that'd be the third engine crew, or third crew assigned to get that line, because we got two engines on the first line, okay? You need a boss at the nozzle, and you need a boss back here to coordinate everything. And if you got another line going above, there should be a line or a boss on that line also. But that's the thing, you know, about watching what's happening here, you know, and keeping the line straight as possible to avoid kinking, to make sure that it's bled off before it goes into the fire area. Everything has got to be in place. You have a fire that's serious. You got heavy smoke down to the floor, a lot of steam, a lot of fire and so forth. You got a lot of stuff going on. Okay, this is why it's critical for bosses to know their job, so they can pass it on to these guys and watch that fire ground operation. Make sure that it plays out smoothly, so forth. I always get a kick out of the guys, and we saw this recently. Some guy, you know, when they were asking in the critique after it, well, how do you think it went? Oh, I think it went great. And you gotta look and say to yourself, like, really? You didn't pick up anything about what was going on here? That person is either standing in a river in Egypt named denial, okay? Or else they don't want to admit what they don't know. And that's where everybody needs to be cognizant of their area of fire. It's hard to be like that. Again, you know, when you have all the smoke and let's say you got a situation where the heat, the flames, everything's beating you down, okay? It's like you're focusing on up front, but you need to have, you got to work to get that cognizance of everything that's happening around you. Listen to voices, you know, what's happening, is something falling, you know, where the water's spraying back, or if it is, all this stuff. Be cognizant. Don't just get on a hose line, close your eyes, you know, and think, oh God, I hope we get to the fire and put it out. No, you know, this is the thing about working together and everybody having an idea, approximate of what's happening. Okay, I say approximate because it goes right back to what we've always talked about, right? Firefighting is circumstantial, and that's the other thing. So, just you got to keep it in perspective. Keep your firefighting simple, you know, and planning for your fire attack, you know, huge. Hose lines, volume, proper operating pressure, you know. And we'll touch on that when we go down to Texas and so forth also. And that is, if it's a 50 PSI solid bore nozzle, it's a 50 PSI solid bore nozzle. All this crap about over pumping if you feel strong, like you just went to the gym or in the firehouse gym, you know, and working out, oh, I can hold this, I can hold a master stream in my hands and so forth while flowing. No, it's a 50 PSI nozzle, that's what you pump it at. Same thing, if you don't feel good, and you say, oh, I'll pump it 40 because I don't feel too strong today. Go home sick. you know? No, we need you to fight the fire. Pumping at the proper design pressure, that's pays the big dividends also. Yeah.
So Conroe, Texas,
Yeah,
we'll be there in March, and that
2 days.
it'll
Got 2
likely
days.
be our only visit in Texas in 2020. So
Hope not. Hope not.
we hope not, but as of right now, that's our only scheduled date,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
great state of Texas. Come have a look in March. Otherwise, you may have to wait a little bit.
Yeah, well, we hope to have, a good time, well, we will have a good time, no matter what, okay? Cause anytime, talking to John Grasso, you know, one of the old, Andy Fredericks team guys, you know, just recently, and, he was saying, him and Andy would say, you're always having a good time when you're flowing water. And I think that's a great thing to think about, you know, that's right. We're gonna be flowing water, we're gonna have a good time doing it.
That's
Okay?
right.
The people who are going to attend, they're gonna have a good time also. We're gonna do a lot of stretching, a lot of work, and you're gonna flow a lot of water.
All right.
So, yeah, we'll have a great time.
All right, everybody, check in with us on, keep an eye on the strategicfiretraining.com. Check us out, obviously, on the Facebook page. And give us a comment. We got a whiteboard here. I didn't get Jeff to use it today,
that's right.
but if there's something you want him to draw on there and work on, maybe we could illustrate something if you have a specific question, and I'll try to keep him on task. All right?
Yeah, I do have a tendency to wander, don't I?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, we'll check in later.